You're listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast. All right. Now, it's not often that we get the man of the hour, a very special guest, Mr. Dave Heeke, to join us. Dave, how you doing, my man?
Hey, I'm doing great, Mike. It's good to be with you. Enjoy it.
Always good. All right, Dave, one of the things that I've always liked about you is you're a modest guy. You're behind the scenes. You take the blame when things doesn't work. You generally, when things do, you give it to somebody else. Dave, I'm going to ask you right now with Tommy Lloyd to take a little bit of credit here because honestly, Tommy Lloyd has taken this city by storm. And when he was first announced, a lot of people didn't even know who he was. What did Dave Heeke see in Tommy Lloyd that said, you know what, that's the guy to get us to the next level right there?
Well, hey, Tommy's done a terrific job. I mean, he's an outstanding basketball coach. He's a really good person. I think when we looked at where our program was, how do we want to move forward? What's the right fit for Arizona basketball, for Tucson, for the vibe we want to create here, the style of play? You kind of have to pull all of those things together. No question. This is a rock star, gold star, blue blood program, big time basketball program, and we wanted to get the right person. And lots of people have interest in the job. Mm-hmm. Certainly a lot of people would walk here to take this job.
Right.
But finding, looking at the programs that were having success, why were they having success? Are we looking at a head coach there, or what kind of an assistant could step in? And now that's a big step too, Mike. Don't get me wrong. We certainly considered that, hey, our assistants ready that have never sat in the chair to come and step into it. Tommy's experience, when you started, again, dissecting it, looking around the country, identifying people, understanding who might be interested, Tommy really became attractive to me. Over 20 years. I know Mark Few. I've watched that program, my time at Oregon, lots of connections with people to Gonzaga and to the Northwest basketball. So lots of people that I could talk to and get feedback on, but really trying to dial in on Tommy was again, a guy who had been right there, watched that program grow to become a national level program. In a way, kind of jump up on the mantle where Arizona basketball is and wants to be and should be. So that, I'm kind of going down the road a little bit there, but that's maybe a little bit of process and a little bit of who he is, and then saying, yeah, he's the right guy. I mean, look at what he can put together. It's a great style of play too. I love that. We wanted to get up and down the court. To a degree, let guys play within. There is a system to that, and I know sometimes people go, "Hey, they just run." No, there is a system to this, and it works pretty well. So,
what's unique about this hire, and I think some of the intuition that you had here was that generally, when you have a top 10, top 15 program, people are always saying, "All right, well, you need to get an established coach. You need to get somebody from a mid-major, or you need to get somebody from another, Power 5 program." But you guys went a different route right there, getting the assistant that wasn't on a lot of people's hot boards. Was this a guy that you had targeted from the beginning, or was this when you started doing a little bit of more research? You're like, whoa, this is a guy that could really fit here.
Well, I think it really was when you start doing a little more research. There are there's people. Again, we had to wade through a difficult decision to make a change, and that's hard to do. And you've got to get through that before you start moving forward to talking to or identifying different candidates or people you'd be interested in. So you evaluate all those things, and you're right. It's a little bit, this is a big time program, and you've got to make sure you have the right person that might be an assistant versus, hey, we're going to get this head coach who has been already been a head coach. And it was an interesting time, but again, when you sit down with Tommy and you start talking through it, and he's been very clear, he had no reason to leave. He had no reason to leave Gonzaga. He's got a great situation with his family, great situation with the program, kind of the heir apparent if Mark were ever to leave. But the chance to come to Arizona and build his own and build it, kind of walk step aside and then build it with us is really important. And let's not forget, Tommy's a great recruiter. And
Yeah.
I'm a believer the people you bring in need to be relentless, tireless recruiters and have that plan and that energy. And hey, it is about bringing in high caliber players and student athletes that can help us be successful. And Tommy's connected on that level.
Has the transition been even a little smoother than maybe even Dave Heeke thought? Or, did you see Arizona basketball being back in national prominence this quickly?
Well, hey, I'm proud of what our coaches have done and the players to get to this point, to be, again, ranked, being on a national landscape. That's important. What I love about Tommy is you got to earn that every night. Okay, to be a good basketball program, to be a good program, and we can talk across the sports spectrum, you got to be focused on being good every night, winning, just continuing to build and get better. And so I don't know if there wasn't a timeline. I knew we had really good players, knew we had the system would work, I felt. And I'm impressed with how quickly our players have adapted and really embraced the system. The way we share the basketball, the way we move around, the guys really realized, in this day and age, everybody wants their shots. Everybody wants to score. Everybody, go to the score. I think they've realized, hey, we can move the ball around. We get a lot more possessions and a lot more attempts. A lot of guys can still score. Even if you give up the ball, you're going to get it back. There's just a lot of pieces to it that work well, I think, for guys, and they've embraced it. So I think from that aspect, I'm very impressed with that. And again, credit to our coaches and the kids for saying, let's make this thing work. So that's probably the thing I've noticed the most is that from the transition, I knew we were going to be very competitive. I was confident we had good players. Some of the additions that Tommy made too have really been helpful. So, again, hey, but you know what? We got a game on Sunday, and we need to play well.
Right. Now, switching over to the women's side of the equation, you've essentially got two top 10 programs right now that are under your obviously your guidance. Now, Adia Barnes, I think a lot of people, at least in the national perspective, and you look at the Pac-12 preseason ratings, and people are wondering, was this an Ari McDonald thing, or is this a program? Well, Dave, there's no question that as great as Ari was, this is an absolute program / machine that Adia Barnes has going right here. And this thing isn't stopping anytime soon.
Well, it's not. And you look, I think, at many of our programs, you can see that as good as they are now, the future continues to be very promising. And Adia's program is that. Look, and for that, if you just kind of look at the last year, but if you look for the years prior to that, it continued to improve, build, putting pieces together to make the program better. We've been very strategic in investing and doing the things that we think are important for that program to grow. We'll continue to do that too. To put it in I use these phrases a little bit, but for basketball, for me on the women's side, we want to build this and continue. And Adia has this vision too, to be a top 10 program. Doesn't mean you're going to be in the top 10 every year, but that's what we want to be built to do that. You got to play well, no injuries, crazy things happen, but that's what we want to be as a top 10 program in women's basketball. And that can happen. And like you said, last year was different. We had one real marquee player that we built the thing around, lots of other good players. Now, we have a different style, different approach, lots of people that can score the ball, really good bigs that have improved tremendously. And again, a really neat style of play. And Adia has built that. It is built well. And from recruiting, and we could talk about recruiting, that's different when you talk about bringing in high school players, but bringing in with the transfer portal, it is really a roster management system now, how you have to approach the way you manage your team. But bringing in transfers that want to come in, that identify with the style of play and can help our program and be the right kind of students and student athletes and representatives that Arizona's always been proud of. But Adia's done a great job.
I think what's exciting too, Dave, is just how organic the fan support has been here for Adia. Because you look at it, and growing up here in Tucson, I was blessed to see the heyday of the Lute Olson era, where it didn't matter; everybody was going to be there at McHale. And Adia has done much the same. I mean, I remember even when Arizona basketball was good, and when she was playing here, I could always go get a ticket and basically get down in one of the top 3 or 4 rows. it's so impressive the way that women's basketball, and especially what Adia Barnes has done here, that you're not going to be able, that's a hot ticket now. You're not going to be able to just walk up Mike Luke style 5 minutes before and just get to the, the second row and sit behind the coach, Dave. So this is something that, like, it's kind of uncharted waters here in Tucson as far as on the women's basketball side.
Well, women's basketball has grown tremendously, through the years. The game has grown, the style of play, the athleticism has grown, and so the interest in the game has certainly grown. And we've invested resources across the country to do that in certain areas. And why can't it be great here in Tucson? We have a tremendous fan base, nearly 6,000 season ticket holders now. So when you walk in the arena, those good seats behind around the bowl are basically all sold. So it's an exciting time to see that, and credit Adia. I mean, and I think you can see the impact that coaches have. They are the great spokespersons for their programs. You can market, you can advertise, you can do a lot of different things. You need to have a great product on the floor. You need to have a head coach who really embraces their program and wants to be out front and be connected in this community. And people respond. And that has certainly happened with Adia. There is a great connection to her and the program and the young women in our program, and it's fun. It's only going to grow. Right. People are really catching the wave, and it's exciting to see that happen. And it is a sport that can produce revenue. I think there's a great growth opportunity here. It's still not a sport that generates enough income to pay for itself, but we're creeping towards that, and that's kind of the goal. Then we can generate even more resources to invest into the program to continue to grow. Because, quite frankly, Mike, in this day and age, resources are incredibly important, and there is a relationship between the resources that you can invest in the program and the ultimate success measures that you can reach.
Right. Okay. Lastly, Dave, before we let you go, because I know you're a busy guy and I can't thank you enough for hopping on, but let's talk a little bit of U of A football. You and I were able to talk on the phone a little bit a couple weeks ago, and I thank you for that. I thought you made an interesting point, though, about when you were talking about Jedd Fisch. You said you've got to be all in here, and recruiting's got to be the lifeblood of the program. And, Jedd's talked about that as well. And, obviously it was a tough year on the field here. But the one thing that nobody can say about Jedd Fisch is that he isn't working his butt off. I mean, you look at it from the second the season's been over, he's been out scouring for high school recruits, trying to reaffirm commitments right there. So I would just say to the people out there, and I'll let you expand. This is a guy that is putting in the legwork. Now, it's not going to happen overnight, but he's certainly putting in the legwork to bring in better players. He's not just sitting around.
Yeah, I mean, again, Jedd was out after that, a disappointment, obviously, up north against the team from up there that we want to beat every year. But, Sunday morning, 6 a.m. on an airplane, out to recruit. Jedd embraces that recruiting. He's relentless. Our assistants are all out. It's a well-organized plan. I mean, I credit Jedd. We're very organized in our approach, very intentional with our approach. And, that's it. Look, again, we've got to – I've been very open with this. We stripped this thing down. We took the house and stripped everything down to the studs, and we're going to rebuild it. And part of that – and a big part of that is through recruiting and bringing in more players across. I love the guys that played for us this year. I love what they put into this because they're part of the foundation. They will be able to reflect back on that. They started this. They started the new winning ways of Arizona football, and that's going to come in. Again, I credit Jedd for that. He is a relentless guy, and the recruiting thing's so important. Mike, we've talked about it. You got to do it. And it's changed from 5 years ago. It's changed from 10 years ago and 20 years ago. It's different, and it takes an incredible amount of energy and effort to recruit, to re-recruit. We've got 2 signing dates now. It's constant. It's constant in the recruiting side.
Okay, so now before we let you go, last question then here. You got a new defensive coordinator. So Don Brown, and I think that's one of the things that everybody was impressed by Jedd Fisch was the staff that he was able to get together. You had a lot of names and you had a lot of credibility there. Don Brown moves on to UMass, which is always a good thing. When somebody says, well, we lost our DC, well, that means he did a good job. So, talk a little bit about Johnny Nansen, who he is, obviously coming from UCLA, and what you all kind of saw in him as the new defensive coordinator.
Well, I think Johnny is going to fit right in. Again, kudos to Don Brown, and I'm really happy for him and his family to go back, be a head coach, a place he had been at before and had success in a part of the country. You know, he came in and changed the pace here. He changed the identity. We've talked about this, Mike. You know, being good on defense is important at Arizona. When we've had success in the past, that's been a key part of it, and that's going to still be big part of the rock that Jedd's building. And Johnny comes in though with a lot of experience. He was at Washington, was at USC, most recently at UCLA. Again, understands the defensive concepts. We'll do some things a little bit different, but brings a lot of energy, a lot of juice. Is an outstanding recruiter. It's well documented. So another guy that can be out and be recruiting and bringing talent here to Arizona under the structures that we have to be really successful. So, you know, he brings a really good West Coast, familiar with the West Coast recruiting process. You know, look, we've got to be good in recruiting in our state. That's a hard thing to do, and that's a whole nother show to talk about that. But we want to be focused in the state. We want to be focused in California. That's really our lifeblood, you know, and in the Western United States are important. Yes, we will go to different areas, but you got to be good in those areas and really be focused in it. So I think he brings a lot of that, brings a great deal of energy, a really good person, nice person to be around. You feel the energy when you're around him. So that will serve us well. And we'll still be an aggressive style of defense. We will go to the ball. We will tackle. We will be aggressive with our defense. And that was important to Jedd as he goes, you know, and really these decisions are, Jedd and I talk about that a lot and talk about where he's headed. Ultimately, you know, Coach Fisch makes that decision, and I embrace the decision he made. And I think this is going to be a really good one for us in the next chapter going forward. It's hard this day and age. You know, coaches move around. We talk about consistency. We talk about trying to have continuity on staffs. That gets harder and harder in this new age of college football. But I think our players will really identify with Johnny as well.
Okay, Dave, you're a baseball guy. I can't let you go without giving a little bit of a talk about Chip Hale. What's going on the baseball front right now?
Well, Chip's doing a great job. It's good to have one of our all-time greats back, and he's just embraced the college environment. Talk about another guy. You know, I think the day after we hired him, he was in a car driving to Southern California to go recruit.
Right.
I mean, again, that's what it takes. You know, I know a lot of people. He came from pro ball. He understands the recruiting, you know, energy and emphasis that is important. Good to have him on campus. Our baseball program is in good hands. He's put together a nice staff, keeping Dave Lawn, who was previously on the staff. You know, bringing in some new pieces that will be great on the technical side, the instructional side, development side, but also from a recruiting aspect. So I like where we are. We're gonna have a good nucleus of players this year, and I think the future again is bright. We'll bring that in with a lot of players. This is now. Here's one of my. We want to be an Omaha program. We want to be built, structured. Our focus is in development and being an Omaha program. That's where we should be every year, is trying to get to Omaha and being one of those final 8 teams. So love what Chip's doing. We've got some things going on where we're going to continue to further enhance the facility for our players in our clubhouse area, in our team area, coaches area, and then into the Francona Hitting Center area. That is really exciting. You know, development and growing players, no more so than in baseball, is really important. But you're gonna see some good stuff. And love having Jedd around the place.
Right. Dave, I can't.
Chip, not Jedd. Chip.
I was going to say, we're going from coach. We like having both of them.
Well, you know, and that is one of the things. All of our, you know, we have 6 new head coaches.
Right.
We have some outstanding head coaches who are still here. The vibe and the energy in McHale around, you know, the connection. They all are talking to each other. They attend each other's events. They love to, you know, pick each other's brains. And I think that's good for an environment. That's good for an athletic program. And like some of our longtime coaches say, they go, hey, this feels like it feels like the 90s and the 2000s, when there was just a lot of energy with our head coaches and being connected to each other. So that's just good to have. I think the support from each other means so much to our head coaches.
I'll never forget. It's funny. I was at, and I can't remember where it was, but I'll never forget. I think my dad's got the picture. There is a picture of Dick Tomey, Lute Olson, and Jerry Kindle. And keep in mind, this is a candid picture. This isn't one. Now, it was a little creepy that you see him on the side, but, we're still going to take it anyway. And all these guys just talking to each other. You got three legends right here. They don't know the cameras are around. They don't know anybody. It was just a camaraderie about, three guys that really wanted to be here. And I think that kind of dovetails into what you're talking about right there.
It does. When you see Tommy walk into Adia's practices, he goes, I just like to watch her coach. I like the stuff he runs, and then Chip is there, and although Mike Candrea has just recently, but Mike goes, hey, I love going to practice and watching Chip how he does this, and that kind of stuff, and those hanging around each other is important. I think that, again, I think it really shows the kind of energy, culture, that overused word, but that we have here at Arizona that has gone on in the past, as you articulated there with those grades, seeing them, that kind of feel is here.
Dave, I can't thank you enough for coming on. On a personal note, you've always been fantastic to me. I really appreciate your time. And like I said, you don't have a bigger fan in Tucson than me, Dave.
Well, hey, I appreciate that, Mike. No, I love being here. Love this program. I think the future is always bright. We're going to continue to get better. There's no mediocrity, no resting on our laurels around here. We got to drive hard and keep going. And sometimes it doesn't happen as fast as we all want, but we're going to get there. So, I'm just going to one day be able to grow a beard like you. As I say, you look like a grizzled veteran NHL, as an old hockey guy, in the midst of the playoffs. It's been through 2 7-game series. I mean, you're like, hey, we're going for the cup. We're going for the championship.
And not only that, I've also got a AA baseball game I got to get to right after that, too. So
I love it. I'm
good to go. Thanks again, Dave, for your time. We'll catch up again. Appreciate you, bro.
Look forward to it. Want to do it again. Thanks.
Okay, thanks again. That's Dave Heeke. Bear down right there. And honestly, that's part of the reason that I just love doing this job right here is that, we get great guests here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. Dave is the man. Everybody at Arizona has been incredibly great to me. Adam, Nate, Dave, Matt Ensor, everybody. So again, a big tip of the cap to all of you guys. I want to talk a little bit about the chemistry, the camaraderie that Dave was talking about. But first, as you guys all know, this is brought to you by DraftKings. Here's the deal. You put down $1 on an NFL game. Keep in mind, new customers only on this. And guess what? If either team scores, you get $100 in free plays. Again, $100 in free plays. It's that simple. It's that easy. Go ahead and get on there. You got everything going on right now from the NFL to college basketball, everything. So we want a reminder, 21 and up, Arizona only. Gambling problem, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customers only. Eligibility restrictions do apply. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for more details. Okay. I thought Dave hit on a very, very interesting point there about kind of the health / the camaraderie that's going on in the athletic department right now. And I think he's spot on that. In that, in the past, and again, Sean Miller did some really good things here. I'm not saying he didn't, but it almost kind of felt like he was kind of his lone dog doing his own thing. And, that's fine. But the programs that kind of, that I grew up following had very much of a community type feel to it in that, I could go to an Arizona basketball practice whenever I want. I know things are different now, but it wasn't uncommon to see Dick Tomey just around town or Dick Tomey talking with some random guy at the coffee shop, and like I talked about too with Jerry Kindle. Those are the kind of things that I think when you're in Tucson that you need to embrace. And I think it takes a special type of personality to be able to do that. And I think that's a big part of what Dave's trying to do here is bringing in guys, first of all, that want to be here. And second of all, embrace the community feel that is Tucson, because again, Tucson's a unique city in that regard, in that this is a college town, period. This is a town where everything revolves around the U of A. And I think you've got a bunch of coaches right there that have really embraced that. Now, one thing that I do want to talk about a little bit before signing off here, and again, brought to you by DraftKings. Great deals going on, as always. If you're listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast, you know about DraftKings. But as always, throw down $1 on any NFL game for a new customer, and you get $100 in free plays. It's that simple. Again, you might be saying, oh, what's the catch? There is no catch. That's what you do. And you know what? Maybe you make that $100 and you turn it into something else going forward there. My DraftKings pick of the week, I like Arizona to cover this week against Washington State coming up here Sunday. We'll be back with you on that one. So there's my DraftKings pick of the week. All right. One thing, though, that I do want to hit on just briefly here. Dave's been beat up a lot by people. Not me, but he's been beat up by a lot of people. And I think you see kind of the character of the man right there in that he came on here right now and, you know, a lot of people were scratching their head at the Tommy Lloyd hire, and they're not scratching anymore. But a lot of people were scratching their head. Hey, what's going on right here? Who is this guy? Is this really what Arizona basketball is? And obviously it's worked out in resounding success. Tommy Lloyd is running a style that's getting up and down the court like no other. It looks like watching Lute Olson's old teams. It's fun. He's going to be able to recruit, and this is going to be something that I think is going to be exciting to watch throughout the process here. But Dave also showed a little bit of his character right there in that, you know, he didn't spike the football, and he could have because, you know, there's a lot of the people that have put down Dave are now silent with the Tommy Lloyd hire really working out. So again, I think that shows the character of the guy, and I want to thank him again for coming on. We are going to have a lot more. Got a couple surprises for you next week as well that we're working on, and we're hoping, efforting to try to get Adia Barnes on here when her schedule permits. But I got to thank all of you out there again. You're what makes the AZ Wildcats podcast work. This will all be up in downloaded form here shortly. And check out Go PHNX. They got everything covered from the Cardinals to the Sun Devils to the Diamondbacks to the Coyotes, the Suns. This is a good time to be an state of Arizona sports fan, and there's no better time to hop on to Go PHNX. Subscribe to that AZ Wildcats podcast. But again, appreciate Dave Heeke and everybody in the athletic department. I'm Mike Luke signing off. Be back with you tomorrow.